Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage. This is from Psalm 84, which we heard part of today. I quote a verse we didn't hear from, and in a different translation, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage. What does it mean to have a heart set on pilgrimage? We can look at other scriptures. St. Paul says, our citizenship is in heaven. St. Peter calls us sojourners and exiles. And the letter to the Hebrews says that Christians desire a better country, that is, a heavenly one, having acknowledged that they were strangers and exiles on earth. For here we have no lasting city, but we seek the city that is to come. End quote. Do you live like this? Are you one of those whose hearts is set on pilgrimage? St. Ignatius of Loyola spent the first 26 years of his life enthralled by the vanities of the world. He wanted to gain glory for himself as a soldier and gain pleasure for himself as a womanizer. However, after stubbornly refusing to leave a losing battle in war, a cannonball hit his leg and seriously broke it. After his leg healed, he didn't like how it looked. So out of his own vanity, he had the doctors re-break his leg so that it would look better when it had healed. And because of this, he was in the hospital for a very long time. And the only books he had to read, the only entertainment he had, was the life of Christ and the life of the saints. As he read these books, something stirred within him, and he asked himself, what if I should do what St. Francis did? What if I should do what St. Dominic did? And these questions welled up a great, exciting, noble resolve in his warrior spirit, and after much interior wrestling, he resolved to become a soldier for Christ. He left his father's house, and that first day and night on the journey, his brother accompanied him, and they stayed up all night at the shrine of our Blessed Mother in prayer. The next day, he set off on his own. He next made a general confession of all his past sins. His autobiography says that 3 whole days were spent in this undertaking. It took him 3 days to confess his sins. The next day, he gave his costly clothing, his garments, to a beggar, and he put on the dress of a pilgrim. And he took a pilgrim's staff in his hand. So he's now physically dressed as a Christian pilgrim. Then he goes to a church and, imitating a ceremony from Christian knighthood in the Middle Ages, where the day before receiving their knighthood, the knight-to-be would stand guard before an altar of the Blessed Virgin, all through the night in prayerful vigil, alternating between standing and kneeling the entire time, always holding his pilgrim staff. The next day he left that town at daybreak and went to a town called Manresa. There he lived in a cave for 11 months, living only on begging alms what people gave him and never eating meat or drinking wine. His biography says, in former days he had been very careful of his hair, which he had worn in the fashionable manner of that time. But now he determined to cease to care for it, neither to comb it nor to cut it, and to dispense with all covering for his head. To punish himself for the too great nicety which he had formerly had in the care of his hands and feet, he now resolved to neglect them. So you can imagine his long hair, his nails. He probably looked like a creature. One time he felt led to fast and not eat any food or drink until the Lord would reveal his will for him. And after some days, his confessor told him to stop, and he obeyed. And the Lord soon after revealed his will, but just to show his extreme zeal. While living in that cave, he faced serious temptations, such as the vision of a giant but beautiful snake or dragon. And he began to hear whispers after this vision saying, how can you keep up for 70 years of your life these practices you have begun? Knowing that this thought was a temptation of the evil one, he expelled it by this answer: "Can you, wretched one, promise me 1 hour of life?" This might sound familiar as scripture. Do not worry about your life. You cannot add 1 hour to it. Only God can. And in this way he overcame the temptation, and his soul was restored to peace. Other times he was deprived of all consolation and was plunged into desolation. Other times he experienced extreme consolations again. And it was during this time he composed his famous spiritual exercises and the Ignatian rules of discernment, which I recommend for all believers. They're amazing and incredible. If you want to learn more about how to pray like never before and discern God's will, his spirit, I have a talk on YouTube. If you search Deacon Eric Pintar, there's talks on prayer, and one is called Difficulties in Personal Prayer, Dryness and Desolation. And I just recommend learning about these rules of discernment. Later, St. Ignatius started the religious order called the Jesuits, and by the end of his life, he had over 1,000 men following him, traveling to the most dangerous places on earth to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. And now there have been well over 100,000 Jesuits throughout history, all inspired by the life of St. Ignatius, giving their entire life to live this pilgrim life as he did, all for the greater glory of God. But I ask you today, why can't you be another saint like Francis, Dominic, Ignatius? Of course, not exactly the same as them, but with the same zeal and the same fervor and the same love. Let us make Psalm 84 our prayer too. Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage.